Good afternoon. My name is Paul Rossbury, and I want to introduce a lady who I've known for a number of years, and she's very exciting. It is Lieutenant Colonel Eurydice Stanley, and she received her Army ROTC scholarship. Let's see, I gotta get my glasses straight if that's okay, and attended Florida A&M University, where she earned a degree in public management, minoring in political science. I thought I was going to say public science, That's an interesting subject, isn't it? A distinguished military graduate, she was commissioned in 1990 as Lieutenant Colonel Stanley, was awarded a scholarship to attend University of Minnesota, receiving a master's degree in industrial relations, studying in international business in Lyon, France. She graduated summa cum laude from Louisiana Baptist University in 2000 with a PhD in Christian counseling and psychology. She's a skilled facilitator and instructor. Lieutenant Colonel Stanley was developed and presented human relations topics across the globe for more than 20,000 Department of Defense personnel. She considers herself to be a lifelong learner and enjoys presenting relevant and relatable training classes for service members. Most of her memorable training opportunity was presented in South Africa Defense Force after transformation in 2000. An avid researcher, she has developed topics such as military archetype of leadership and conferences to include an American Counseling Association and the Center of Applied Cognitive Studies. But her greatest pride is being the mother of Grace and Christian. She is in the area of second governor for Toastmasters, and has been in Seminary Covenant Community for over 20 years. I would like for you to give a warm welcome to Lieutenant Colonel Stanley.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's always good to see you. It's always good to be back with my Seminary Covenant community family. Unfortunately, with the military, I've traveled a lot, but now, since I'm retired, I have the opportunity to plug back in and give back. So it's my honor to be here today, and thank you so much for allowing me to close out Seminary Covenant Community's speakers for the year. Now, I am happy to see each and every one of you, and I want you to buckle in because we got some great information coming to you today, because we want to make sure that you know how to be empowered for 2015. I'm going to provide 8 steps. All I ask is that you keep your mind open, and as soon as you can, start applying, which is why you have information in front of you right now so that you can take notes. I want you to make sure that any thought that comes to mind, you capture and follow up with later on. Paul, could you give me the next slide, please? Bottom line, this is everyone's favorite channel, isn't it? Whiffum, what's in it for me? Habakkuk 2:2. And the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. Now, I didn't give you tablets today, I gave you journals, so I think that might be a little more convenient for you, but the principle is still the same. We are going to take time to address these 8 topics so that we can run into 2015 energized, ready, and enthusiastic, because we're going to have a singular focus, a singular vision, because we're going to know what we want for 2015. Paul, next slide, please. So these are the things that we are going to talk about today, our different topics. And as I said, it's going to be and very important for you to take notes. Feel free to ask questions. I ask that you hold your questions until the end, but know that I will be here after the seminar, and we're also going to have a book signing afterward as well, so you'll have plenty of time to interact with me after the session. Next slide, please. So, no, that is not a typo. We are looking for our wow factor in 2015. Now think about it. Has anybody taken your wow away? We don't necessarily want to think that someone could take our wow, but it can easily be a grinding effect. Things happen, we get into the drudgery of life, and we stop focusing on what our goals and aspirations are. We start listening to more of the negative comments than we should, and it starts to have a diminishing impact on our self-esteem. But we're not doing that anymore because we're going to be empowered. You're going to get your wow factor back. You believe me? Do you believe me? I know you believe me. This is going to be our opportunity to regain our power, but it's going to require you to make the conscious decision to do so. And we're going to talk about those conscious decisions a little later, but I just want to plant the seed of a term known as metacognition. And that's, yes, that's a $50 word for a very simple thought process, and that is thinking about thinking. I want you to start being cognizant of what you're thinking about because it has an impact on your overall life. Just as you're sitting there right now, I'm so excited seeing you with your pens and papers. Write out your plan. Sketch out your overview while you're here, and then this is yours. So you take your time, you invest your focus and your time and your energy into you, because this is going to make a difference for each and every one of you. Number one, assess. Now, I've had other people in seminars say, what do you mean? It's my life. I know what's going on in my life. But do you? I'm asking you to go away to a quiet space. I'm asking you to focus and to really thoroughly review these interactions. Your personal life, your interactions with your family, your interactions with your faith. Are you always asking God for something instead of thanking Him for waking you up? That is a definite, that can create dissonance, because when we have a perspective and an attitude of gratitude, it creates an entirely different interaction in our lives. Because the more that you see to be grateful for, the more that you will have a positive outlook. Because you see all these gifts that you've been given. Oh Lord, I'm able to walk, I'm able to talk, I'm able to smile, I'm able to see friends. I'm able to add value to other people's life. So why wouldn't I be happy? But someone else could have the same exact gifts as I do and not see them. But we're not going to do that anymore. Goals. How many of your goals have you identified? How many have you met? We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And most importantly, relationships. In particular, I have a few friends who seem to, even though they get a different partner, end up with the same person. And it's always a negative result. So what is the source of that? Why is it that you might be attracted to a certain type of person? Those are the types of things to actually consider. Is this person filling a role in your mind of a missing parent? If you honestly give yourself the time to think about it, and if you can honestly say, yes, that's what I've been doing, this is a good time to leave that decision in 2014, because there's not a single person that you can select to fill the role of one of your missing parents, missing family members, a former husband, a former wife. There's no one that can do that. So I'm asking you, number one, assess. Now, two, celebrate. And my first bullet is the most important. Self-definition of success. Do not allow someone else to tell you what success means. I am a mom of 2 children. If I can reach into a pile of laundry and pull out 2 matching socks, my day is great. I have achieved, I have succeeded, I have done something, I have climbed the mountain. You can't tell me anything else. So take this time while you're working on number 2 to pat yourself on the back. Why? Because if you're waiting for someone else to do it, you're probably going to be waiting for a very long time. So give yourself credit. You know what you do. You know how hard you've worked. You know the impact that you've had on other people. Or perhaps you don't. And I'm asking you to take the time now to recognize it, acknowledge it, and be excited. Number 3, baggage. It's time to check our baggage. And you may say, well, Dr. Eurydice, what baggage? Well, we all carry baggage. Oftentimes that baggage is right here at the bottom of our tummy. And it's an area where you just feel dissonance regarding particular situations. The challenge is you may have felt dissonance or uneasiness regarding particular situations, say for example, while you were growing up, the socialization process when you learned how to be the human that you are today. But during that process, you may have received information from an outside source, family, media, peers, teachers, that told you to interact, for example, with someone who is different than you, a different way. And you may not even be cognizant of it. As Paul told you, I am a retired lieutenant colonel, and the majority of my career was spent focused on helping service members identify their personal baggage so that they could better serve other service members without having a barrier between that person, because they're not aware of it. They don't even see it. So during this time, I want you to check your bag. Everybody, you got your bag? Check it and let it go. Paul? Detoxify. It's the beginning of the year. Everybody wants to be healthy and pure and clean inside. So what do we see? We see people drinking, what, lemons with maple syrup and cayenne pepper, who knows?
Eggnog.
Or we have some people drinking eggnog, but the goal, I don't remember an eggnog diet, or the eggnog cleanse, but I'll look that one up. I think that might be yours specifically. But the whole focus is to get rid of the negative toxins that are surrounding us, that are inside of us. We also have to identify and understand that there are toxins in our workplace. And again, particularly in the military, we have had more suicides than we have had service members lost in battle. Do you understand that? Do you realize that? And one of the greatest reasons why, one of the most significant reasons, I should say, because I would never characterize it as great, is due to toxic leadership. Bullying at work, demeaning others, using power to subject another person into a absolutely demeaning experience. And if you have that over and over and over, and you think that there's no one who can help you, unfortunately, the choice that some service members have made was to take their own lives. And now, in particular, the Army has spent $65 million, I should say invested $65 million into identifying strategies to prevent suicide. And one of those strategies is not a victim focus, which would be the service member who has committed suicide. It's actually a focus on their bosses. So there are open hotlines where service members can report bad bosses, detrimental impact. And there's more follow-up regarding those issues because they recognize the ultimate cost. Internalization of negative toxins can be absolutely deadly. Next slide, please. So you've gone through all these other stages and you ask yourself, what am I going to do? Should I develop my skills? Should I compensate for my limitations? Or should I adapt to change? And each one of those are three completely different things. And some would say, well, you're going to adapt. Everybody has to adapt. That's not true. Everyone does not have to adapt to change. They can continue that insanity cycle of doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result. They can continue that for the rest of their lives. But that's not going to be you, because you are focused on identifying issues as they arise. Now, one of the critical elements is actually knowing what your skills are so that you can develop your skills. I chose to join Toastmasters a few years ago so that I could develop my love for speaking. But another thing happened when I joined Toastmasters. I remembered that I was good at speaking. I had actually forgotten, because I had been stuck in policy, writing policy for the military for so long, I forgot that I was a trainer. I forgot that this is what I did for years. And I remembered how it made me feel. And right then, I said to myself, I'm going to follow my first love. If you had asked me 20 years ago, would I ever forget that I loved being a trainer, I would say that you're insane. That couldn't possibly happen. But it absolutely did happen. But now, I'm back on the right road because I still am continuing with my speaking. Now, there are some things that I am very good at doing. There are some things that I am not very good at doing. You have to learn how to compensate for your limitations. For example, I have been spending the last few days with one of my sisters. If you're familiar with Myers-Briggs, she is an extreme J. She is very focused. She's always writing down lists. She is, we got to make sure we go this time. You got to have this much of a cushion. But she helps me compensate because I know that she's the one that's going to make sure that all of those things are done when we go on our trip in a few days. Now, I know that I have my own personal responsibilities to support the trip, but I don't have to worry about those benchmarks. So that's a way for compensating. So develop, compensate, or adapt. You have to know where you are and what your capabilities are so that you can move forward. Next slide, please. Speak life. I cannot stress this point any more powerfully. Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will what? Eat its fruit. So do you want to eat good, healthy, succulent, rich, nourishing fruit that's going to add value and life? Or do you want to eat rotten, putrid, dead fruit that's going to cause death in your body? That is what you see and you experience with your words. And that's why we have to be very careful with what we say, especially to ourselves. And that is part of the metacognition, thinking about thinking. Because one could say, well, I didn't say that about myself, but you thought it. So you are saying it. You are the one that you are with all the time. And if you are negative to yourself, if you demean yourself on a constant basis, you are going to stay demeaned and you're going to stay down. I am a John Maxwell certified speaker, facilitator, and leadership coach. And one of the things that Dr. Maxwell talks about is the law of the lid. If this is your lid, you're never going to go past it. I can limit my lid based on my self-concept. I can limit my lid based on my self-perception. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if I only see myself as a 3, I'm never going to surpass that 3. I need you to lift your lid so that you can lift your self-perception. And that comes from speaking life. And ask yourself, what are the fruits of your comments and your labor and your interactions with other people? We want good fruit. We want healthy, juicy, amazing fruit that's going to nourish us. I want you to see that fruit. I can just see that beautiful, juicy berry, and it's waiting for me to pluck it. And I want you to see it, and I want you to want it. Next slide, please. Dream big. Unfortunately, not only do we have our own little voice, we can internalize other people's voices saying, oh, you're never going to be able to become a doctor. your father wasn't anything, and you're never going to be anything. But that is not true. And you have to believe it. And aside from believing it, you have to have the capacity to dream it and believe it. So I love this quote from Marianne Williamson, Return to Love. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, you are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. Dream big. Don't limit yourself. Next slide, please. Now, we've gone through all of our other 7 stages, and I need you to act. This is the time. This is the time for you to engage. You have to-dos on your list. So you have the 8 that I've shared with you today that you need to sit down and take your time, spend a day on each topic. Bring in the new year, spending time really assessing what it is that you want to leave behind. And when you make that decision to leave it behind, do so. Now, I've also given you calendars, and I would like for you to schedule your success. Now, I know that everyone has a phone that could actually fly you to the moon, and I will say I did go to NASA with my daughter, and they said that the technology in a phone, it's more technology than like the first 10 years of the space race. And it's amazing. And you have to ask yourself, I have enough technology to go to the moon with this phone. Are you only using it to look at puppy pictures on Facebook? Maybe you could use that power, use that technology for something else. I don't know, I'm just thinking that might be a decision that you want to make in 2015. But whatever you do, I want you to get your wow factor back. I want you to be empowered in 2015. And one of the other things that's very critical is for you to make sure that you have a reading list. That is one of the other things that you need to do within these 8 days that you focus on these 8 tasks. Schedule a book a month, a book for the year. It doesn't matter. But do you realize that there are statistics that say that 77% of adults did not read a book in 2013? As a official nerd, I was dumbfounded. How could one live without books? It boggles the mind. Don't be one of those statistics. If you only schedule 10 minutes a day right before you go to bed, keep that book right by your bedside, an amazing thing is going to happen. You're actually going to finish reading that book, and then you can get another one. And you might like that book so much that you might actually read another one. The focus is develop your mind, develop your spirit. And when I say read, I would like to encourage you to read something that is going to help you grow, going to help you develop. give you the opportunity to think differently, think outside the box. That's going to make an incredible difference in your life. Next slide, please. All right. Your empowered journey starts today. I asked you to assess. I asked you to celebrate. Check your baggage. Detoxify. Determine whether you need to develop, compensate, or adapt your skills and abilities. I asked you to speak life into yourself and to be aware of what it is that you're saying to yourself. And I asked you to dream big. One of my sorority sisters, Sonia Miles, she calls it dream walking. Isn't that neat? The thought of walking in your dream? Walking in your dream and thanking God the whole way for His favor and for carrying you and giving you that opportunity. Can you envision that kind of life? That is what I am praying for each and every one of you today. And I suggest to you that the way that you are going to get it is if you act. Paul, thank you very much. And I will be in the back signing books if you would like to have a book. Paul?
Thank you. Let's give her a big hand. Thank you.